Captain Rex wasn't the only clone to disobey Order 66, but how many clones were able to resist turning on their fellow Jedi? Well, the short answer is about 10, but to give you a story on each clone, I scoured over every piece of Star Wars media I could find about the clones during Order 66. So stay tuned, and if you love Star Wars, consider subscribing. Now let's get into the story. If you haven't watched the Clone Wars, then you might not know that the reason the clones complied with Order 66 is because of an inhibitor chip implanted in their head. These inhibitor chips forced the clones to comply with the order, even though just moments before, these Jedi were their friends. One of the clones that was able to resist the order even for a few minutes was Commander Grey. And prepare yourselves, because this is a sad one. Commander Grey was assigned to the Jedi General Depa Billaba and her Padawan Caleb Dume. And stay tuned, because Caleb is actually really important. Commander Grey and his battalion went on many missions, but on their last mission for the Republic, their battalion went to planet Kaller to battle against Separatist forces. They successfully completed their mission, and the Separatists were forced to surrender. The battalion couldn't celebrate their victory for long though, because shortly after the end of the battle, Commander Grey gets a hologram call from Palpatine. Palpatine utters the chilling command, "Execute Order 66, and it activates the inhibitor chip in every clone on Kaller. The two had more luck than most because General Billaba is able to sense a disturbance in the Force, similar to how Master Yoda is able to. Billaba and Caleb are forced to fight against their friends as the clones turn against them. Billaba knows that they are getting overwhelmed, so she orders her Padawan to run while she holds the remaining clones at bay. Fortunately, Caleb is able to escape, but only just barely because Commander Grey and the rest of his squad continue to hunt him down. Caleb is able to stall for time, but eventually Commander Grey catches up with him. Caleb makes his escape using one giant force push, and people speculate that this force push is able to interfere with Commander Grey's inhibitor chip. Because directly after the push, Commander Grey begins having more doubts about Order 66. He begins to start telling his doubts to the other clones, because he doubts the Jedi would betray the Republic, but he can't convince his fellow clones to believe him. He then decides to ensure the clones won't catch up to Caleb. Commander Grey damages their ship, but in the process, it wiped out him and his whole squad. His heroic actions helped save Caleb Dume's life, and it eventually helped save the Republic, because Caleb went on to lead one of the most influential rebel squads in the fight against the Empire. Caleb Dume goes on to become the rebel hero Kanan Jarrus. Well, after that, we have another heroic story with the clone Commando Greggor. Greggor was a clone who got amnesia and was sent to work on a Republic base. He forgets he was an amazing clone hero, but a Republic officer helps him to remember. Just as he starts to remember who he is, there is an attack on the Republic base. Greggor risks his life to save the Republic officer, and everyone assumed he died during a massive explosion. In reality, Greggor survived, and this explosion actually helped him because it was later said by Captain Rex that Greggor had a choice in Order 66. It's presumed that this explosion caused his inhibitor chip to no longer work. We know that during the Empire's reign, he goes on to team up with Captain Rex and Commander Wolfe. They later go on to help the rebellion together. Greggor was a hero who sacrificed his life multiple times to help his team, and Captain Rex recognized just how important he was. Captain Rex wanted nothing more than to help his fellow clones, and it's only fitting to tell his story next. So, without further ado, the most famous clone and his journey disobeying Order 66. Captain Rex is probably one of the most beloved clones in the universe, not just because he worked with Anakin Skywalker, but because of how much he cared about his fellow clone troopers. He never really wanted them to feel like less than the humans they truly were. During Order 66, Rex was one of the clones to start fighting his inhibitor chip right away. Technically, he executed the command just for a little bit, but he was fighting it the entire time. During Order 66, he was on a Venator-class starship with one of his closest friends, Ahsoka Tano. He started firing on Ahsoka, but he was able to resist enough to make sure she wasn't killed. Ahsoka is so advanced in lightsaber combat that she was able to hold off all the other clones, knock out Rex, and isolate him so that she could remove his inhibitor chip. After Rex wakes up, the two start discussing a plan, and the situation becomes pretty clear that they're going to have to fight their way out of the Venator. This scene makes the audience fall in love with Rex and Ahsoka even more, because while their own lives are on the line, the last thing that they want to do is kill any of the clones. They try to come up with a plan to convince the other clones that Ahsoka is not technically a Jedi. Unfortunately, this still doesn't work out because it seems Ahsoka was a specific target for the clones to get rid of. The two Two of them still didn't want to kill any clones though, so to fight their way to an escape ship, they only used a stun setting against the clones. Unfortunately, this was the last of the 332nd Company because only Ahsoka, Captain Rex, and Darth Maul were able to escape the Venator alive. Captain Rex is truly one of the best characters in Star Wars history. His kindness touched so many other clones, and up next is a story from one of Captain Rex's friends, Commander Wolfe. He has a pretty short story because we don't really know where he was during Order 66. We know that Wolfe was a commander assigned to Jedi Master Plo Koon. We're unsure where he was during Order 66, but considering Rex has said that himself, Commander Greggor, and Commander Wolfe all had a choice in Order 66, it's presumed that Wolfe was able to avoid executing the order. And for the next clone on the list, it's going to be a short story as well. His name was Kix, and he worked very closely with Captain Rex. It's never confirmed where he was during the order, but Kix was another clone that removed his inhibitor chip before Order 66 took effect. Kix was friends with another popular clone trooper called Fives. Fives found out about the dangers of the chips long before Order 66 was enacted. Fives removed his chip and convinced Kix to do the same as well. Unfortunately, Kix was kidnapped and hidden away after he removed his chip, so he couldn't continue to warn other clones to do the same. Also, I'm technically not putting Fives on this list because we all know what happened to him before Order 66, and we really don't need to relive that. Now for the last clones I'll cover in this video, they've even got their own show made after them. They're a group of clones known as the Bad Batch. These clones were modified to all have a certain set of skills that they were really good at. In their modifications, it seemed to have caused these clones to become immune to the effects of the inhibitor chip. These clones had their own free will after Order 66. Except for Crosshair, for some reason, he was a little bit more affected by Order 66, but for the most part, this group of clones was able to resist Order 66. Also, technically, Echo is in the Bad Batch, but he wasn't a clone that was modified at all. Except after he got captured by the Separatists, he did get a few cybernetic components, and he was able to resist Order 66 because of those components. So that was the last of the stories that I have for you. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe. Also, if I missed a clone, let me know down in the comments, or just let me know what kind of videos you want to see next. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next time.